Good evening. I'm Kelly Wright. Thank you for joining me as we spend this next hour together. As always, I am hoping that you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family because you matter. My opening observations tonight, the unconventional convention. That's how actress Kerry Washington has described the DNC Night 3 convention. And she's right, because in these unprecedented times of the coronavirus, certainly the DNC's virtual convention has been unconventional. Yet, it is reaching a lot of people who support what's going on because so many people are looking for inspiration these days, and many of them have found it in what's been unfolding on the DNC floor, if you will. And of course, there are the critics. The critics are saying not enough is being done, not enough attention being paid to the facts. But let's look at what happened last night. They talked about gun violence, and we saw young people coming together. They talked about climate change, and we saw young people coming together. They talked about Black issues, and we saw everybody coming together to talk about the disparities within our community, health, the financial inequity, and trying to get things done and solved. To sum it all up, what we saw last night and what we've been seeing thus far from the convention floor, from the DNC, is the description of trying to form a more perfect union. Let's face it, no one in this country is perfect. No one in this country has all the answers. No party, no race, no particular faith. But the answer really lies in we, the people. You see, we have to come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That means you matter, you the people, because you represent the voice of America that's trying so desperately to heal the soul of America. And as John Lewis stated, that means causing good trouble. And when you see something that is wrong, make it right. And so we're seeing that coming out of the DNC. We'll wait to see what happens next week when the RNC convenes its convention. But for now, inspiration is what is needed, and inspiration is what is being sought by the Democrats who have brought in Republicans and independents, Blacks, whites, every creed, every nationality, every gender into its big tent to form we the people in search of a more perfect union. And those are my opening observations.
So starting off tonight, I thought I would talk to three ladies who understand politics, and they followed quite closely since we're talking about what happened last night at the Democratic National Convention. And of course, that was the unveiling or the acceptance speech for vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris. So I thought I would talk to the ladies first. So joining me now is Gilda Cobb-Hunter. She's a state representative for South Carolina legislator, as well as president of the NBCSL and a committee member of the DNC. Also, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, who says this is her greatest birthday present ever to see Kamala Harris go ahead and accept that vice presidential nod. And then also joining us is Erica Savage Wilson of the Savage Politics podcast. Ladies, good to have you all. I'm so delighted that you could be on with me this morning. Since it's the day after Avis's birthday, I wanted to start off with you, if you will, about last night and your impressions of what unfolded.
It was, honestly, it was a highly emotional experience to me. You know, when I think about, normally I contextualize my personality is more like on the Spock end of the spectrum, where I'm like a very logical thinker. But as she was speaking last night, I couldn't even get into analytical mode. I was blown away with the gravity of the moment, with the history, with the degree to which she was able to uncover really who she was and contextualize the gravity of this, quite frankly, for Black women, how she acknowledged Black women, saying that, you know, to the degree that we lift up Black women, that is where we really will find change in this nation. And so it was a very emotional experience for me, because this is finally a moment where we are seeing Black women at the highest levels of power in this nation, quite frankly, exactly where we belong.
Erica?
Absolutely. I could not agree with my friend, Dr. Avis, more. Just even the intro before the speech really did move me and it stilled me. And understanding that what we are seeing, and Senator Harris made this quite clear, is we're seeing a testament, as she said. Her presence is a testament of all of those that ran before her. And the personal piece around it for me is that I could not help but think about my late grandmother, who was the first one in our family to go to college and just led so many people on different paths because of that tremendous feat. So to actually see, I believe for myself and many others, Black women actually being seen at this level. We've always done this level of work. We always knew that we would shatter the glass ceilings given the opportunity, and that she lined out who she's fought for and what she's fought against when she talked about that transnational organization. I know we're going to get through to the speech. And then to say, I know a predator when I see one. It was a beautiful moment to just see a brilliant, powerful, very much so ready for day one. And she's already doing the work, Black woman on the stage and bringing all of us with her in everything that she said last night.
Indeed, and Gilda, you're a state elected official, and you're also president of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. So you represent 700 people. It's tough getting into politics, and it's tough getting elected, staying elected, and doing the work for your constituents. So as a legislator looking at this, how does it impact you to see Senator Kamala Harris accept that nomination for vice president?
Oh, I agree with with the comments both ladies just made. And I tell you, Kelly, for me, it was almost like a spiritual moment. It was like an awakening of something. And I was just so very, very proud. But even before she took the podium to give her acceptance speech, I was moved by that voter education moment that she did at the outset of the beginnings. Mm-hmm. And my thing was, this is going to be fun. Because like most Black women, we recognize that we've got to move beyond the rhetoric and actually have a plan. And when Kamala came out and talked about get a vote plan and talked of voter education, that to me was like, you know what? They get it. They get it. And so I was just really, really very appreciative. And the reason I cite that is because you asked me as a legislator, my reaction. And as a legislator, I know that at the end of the day, it's the vote that matters. And for her to start the evening off, kind of to me, put in perspective what it's all about. And that is the vote.
You know, the vote is so important. When we return, I'd like to talk to the three of you about what the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, had to say about getting out that vote, and in particular, what he had to say about the current president of the United States. We'll be back with more after this.
Welcome back to the program. So I've been talking to three wonderful ladies who are very proud of Senator Kamala Harris accepting the vice presidential nomination last night during the DNC. It was quite a moment for a lot of women of color throughout this country, not just Black women, but Latinas and as well as South Asian women. So Kamala Harris represents a complete, if you will, diaspora of people of color, from the Caribbean to India and now to the United States. As we look forward to what's going to happen on the campaign trail, what kind of impact will she have on the voting populace? But in addition to that, what kind of criticism will she come under fire from some progressives who are still not happy, as well as Republicans? Ladies?
Well, you know, I think that she will play the very vital role of the attack dog, as she should. I mean, she's going to prosecute the case against, quite frankly, a criminal administration. And she has already shown us flashes of brilliance in terms of various hearings that she prosecuted the case. I mean, she literally brought Brett Kavanaugh to tears, you might remember. So, you know, she is going to fill that role. But beyond that, she is definitely going to energize the Black community, as you mentioned. I know that the Asian community, even beyond the East Asian community, is super excited. She touches all of these. And when you think of the fact that she comes into this role having won statewide twice before, even before becoming a senator, so 3 times winning statewide, in a state that has less than a 5% Black population. Okay, let's just acknowledge that, right? So this is someone who understands how to touch and move a broad variety of people. And she is going to bring that energy to this ticket, while at the same time giving a nod and acknowledgement and extra sort of fuel and ammunition to Black women specifically, who are so excited to see a reflection of ourselves on that ticket.
What say you about moving forward with the Biden-Harris ticket?
Well, they've already started doing the work, right? When we think about 2019, when she was in South Carolina back in November, she really did have Black women as the centerpiece of her campaign. And she moved throughout that state and gained the support of Black women. It was the same Black women, the same Black voting bloc that did, in fact, energize our friend legislator here, Ms. Gilda, her state. So when we're thinking about a Kamala Harris who, when she was added to the ticket over a 48-hour period, you're talking about people were energized to the tune of $1 million an hour. When you look at the video footage and you see all of the young children, which I felt was so beautiful, that when they saw her were crying. The country, the nation is really crying out for this tapestry of diversity that we saw across our screens on roll call the other day evening. So she's ready for the job, as both Gilda and both Dr. Avis mentioned when talking about her credentials, when talking about the toughness that is in fact required when you're getting into good trouble, as Gilda said, when you're thinking about all of those different things, she has that, right? She's already been through this fight, not only in the state of California, but on the presidential campaign trail. So she is built for this. She's ready for this. And I believe that what we're going to see in a Senator Kamala Harris is really a day in the life of a Black woman for many people.
Outstanding what you just said there. When we return, I have not forgotten about the great former President Barack Obama, the great orator that he is. We'll be back in just a moment with more. Welcome back. So we were having this conversation with the ladies first, and we're going to have some more people coming on the show tonight to talk about what happened in terms of recapping day 3 of the DNC National Convention. And of course, the big news, Senator Kamala Harris accepting her vice presidential nod and giving her acceptance speech. So with me is Gilda Cobb-Hunter, president of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, as well as a representative there in South Carolina and a DNC committee member, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst, and Erica Savage Wilson of the Savage podcast, political podcast, I might add. So let me get back to something else, and that is President Barack Obama. He gave a speech, and he took it right to President Trump and minced no words. Let me start with you, Gilda, about your response or your reaction to what President Obama had to say.
I thought he really drove the point home. And for those who are familiar with the president, no drama Obama, the fact that he actually called Donald Trump's name, the fact that he was very explicit in his comments, the point he made about Trump just not being, President Trump just not being able to grow into the job. I thought the seriousness and the somber of his tone sent a message in addition to the message itself, because we're used to him and Michelle taking the high road. And last night, it wasn't that he didn't take the high road, he just had a different kind of message for listeners. And for me, I thought the takeaway from the president's message was how serious this is and how much is at stake. And the fact that he did it in Philadelphia with the Constitution and all of that, for me, just drove the point home even more. I thought his remarks were just on point and really very, very targeted and needed, very direct.
Erica?
Yeah, and I agree. When just thinking about, I mean, when the camera pans in and you see that President Obama is really framed in the Constitution, and we think about this president who was actually impeached by the House, acquitted by the Senate, but the charges that he was impeached on are really embedded in our Constitution. He made the case for a person who really does not see the value in the Constitution, will trample on the Constitution. He brought up the emoluments, which I believe is something that definitely kind of goes in and out of the conversation when we're talking about how this elected official is using the office and the presidency to enrich himself and his family. He talked about that President Obama did as it relates to having a person who is using that office and not only enrich himself and his family, but then also to his friends. And that if we want to continue to have any semblance of democracy, this calls for everyone to be involved in the fight. He talked about the voting plan. He also talked about the seriousness with which this moment is. And I agree with Representative Gilda when she talks about, when you're thinking about that, how serious it is for a president to call out, a former president to call out the name of a sitting president and really in criticism of him, but then relate back and say, and this is why I am actually speaking to all of you also directly about not only the importance of voting, but the importance of showing up at the polls, showing up and bringing other people with you. So I thought it was a really important and searing message. And for those people who perhaps kind of long for those Obama years, that is something that they can really stick a pin in and understand that, he really did bring a message of the importance of this hour last night.
So I want to thank each and every one of you for being on the program tonight. And we'll see you again tomorrow to wrap everything up as it pertains to the Democratic National Convention. And of course, after that, all eyes will be looking forward to what's happening next week with the Republican National Convention. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, Erica Savage Wilson, and State Representative of South Carolina, Gilda Cobb-Hunter. Thank you for being my guest tonight.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
God bless you. And welcome back. Joining me now is Dr. Benjamin Chavis. He's the president and CEO of the NNPA, Black Press USA, and the NNPA standing for National Newspapers Publishers Association. I was reminded of the fact that when we launched this show on the Black News Channel back in February, one thing you said to me, you said that the election this year, the presidential election, the Black women would have a pivotal vote. They will be the ones that both candidates, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats, will have to convince that they deserve to be president and vice president of the United States. That has not changed, even in the midst of COVID-19, which has disproportionately impacted us. It seems to me, Dr. Chavis, that has not changed. In fact, it's becoming more apparent that you were right.
Well, yes, every once in a while, some of us are prophetic, not necessarily predicting the future, but hearing what it is that the Creator is saying to us in real time in 2020. Certainly, this was at the beginning of the pandemic. Little did we know back in February that Black Americans were going to be disproportionately affected by the fatalities, by the injuries of COVID-19. Little did we know that there was going to be a situation with George Floyd that re-exposed the systemic nature of racism in America. Little did we know that some states were going to step up their efforts to suppress the Black vote. But the resilience of Black women, the resilience of the Black community, we've had obstacles put in our path before, and we found a way how to get around over those obstacles. I'm thinking about Harriet Tubman. Last night when I listened to Senator Kamala Harris, I heard an echo of Harriet Tubman, encouraging men, women, and young people to strive for freedom, to strive for excellence, not accepting mediocrity, not accepting anything less than our best. And that's what we have seen now for 3 nights at the DNC. I thought Kerry Washington did an excellent job being the MC. I mentioned President Barack Obama's speech, truly historic. But the capstone of what happened last night was the speech, the acceptance, the address of Senator Kamala Harris.
Indeed. And we'll listen to a few excerpts of her right now.
My mother taught me that service to others gives life purpose and meaning. And oh, how I wish she were here tonight, but I know she's looking down on me from above. I keep thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. On that day, she probably could have never imagined that I would be standing before you now and speaking these words. I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America.
So she delivered the speech that she wanted to. She was measured. She wasn't over the top, but she was measured and did it just right, especially in talking about her mother and the legacy that her mother established in her, as well as her father, how the two of them met while they were out on a civil rights campaign there in the Oakland, California, San Francisco Bay Area. You have been a civil rights activist most of your life, dating back to when you first got your NAACP card at the age of 12, and then at 14, working with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What does this mean to you personally?
Well, we're like, I feel similar the way I felt on that night in 2008 when we elected the first Black president of the United States of America. I felt a similar feeling last night. It's one thing to witness history, Kelly, there's another thing to make history. And last night, African Americans are continuing to make history. Kamala Harris now has taken the baton from a long generations of brothers and sisters who have not only struggled for freedom, prayed for freedom, worked for freedom, died for freedom, went to jail for freedom, were lynched for freedom's sake. All of that is what we are in this enduring, evolving journey. It's interesting that the underlying theme was toward a more perfect union. Well, I think we had a glimpse of what, as we move toward perfection in the United States, to perfect the democracy, we have to make sure we don't let anything or anyone stand in the way of giving every child, no matter what race, no matter what color, no matter what religion, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what poverty level or rich level, everybody should have a chance. Everybody should have a vote. Everybody should be able to participate in perfecting the union.
Dr. Benjamin Chavis, appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. God bless.
Tomorrow about wrapping up the DNC, and then all eyes will be turning towards what will come up and come out of the Republican National Convention. I hope you would join me for that as well. Dr.
Absolutely.
Benjamin Chavis, president of the NNPA, Black Press USA. God bless you, sir.
God bless. Thank you so much.
We're back with more after this. Welcome back to the program. So joining me now is Timothy Allen Simon. He is the owner of TAS Strategies. And of course, he is the chairman of the board of directors for the California Black Chamber of Commerce. Good of you to join us again today, sir.
Thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here.
Well, I know you've got to be excited because one of your good friends that you've known for 30 years, Senator Kamala Harris, officially accepted the vice presidential nod for the presidency on the Democratic ticket, and she gave her acceptance speech last night during the DNC. Tell me what that moment was like for you.
Still pinching myself, actually, having watched Senator and now Vice Presidential candidate Harris evolve over the years, seeing her grow, seeing her being so strategic and how she has guided her decisions and choices to be where she is today. I was just beaming from ear to, Kim and I were beaming from ear to ear. Some interesting observations, though, at least I think. One, now that she's on the national stage, even I think more so than when she was a presidential candidate, she is highlighting her South Asian heritage more. And I think that's a very good strategic move. I think for much of us in California, we knew Kamala was part Indian. We knew her mom and we knew the whole story. But now that side of her life, outside of her book, but that side of her life is being personified more. And I think that's going to strengthen the Biden-Harris ticket going forward.
But let me ask you something else, because you've been in a Republican administration there when you served with Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know the Republican side, you know the Democratic side, and you're a free thinker in terms of understanding the components of what America really needs. Did Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, drive that message home of what America really needs?
Absolutely. I think he was a compliment to the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, in emphasizing the fact, and I do believe they were targeting those who may remain on the fence, that this man just is not cut out to do the job. The analogy I draw is for those of us who've had to fire or have been fired, when that's being explained to you or you're having to explain it to someone, this isn't your job. And I think that is what has been said, and particularly when the president emphasized the fact that he has sat in the Oval Office with both men, that being Joe Biden and Donald Trump. That was a very powerful statement to me. He's offering a perspective and an experience that is really limited to very few people in this country. And to give his honest assessment, and I would say similar to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, stating that we wanted him to be successful because America has that dependency on a successful executive branch, no matter how competitive we may be from a partisan standpoint. So I think the president's message really hit home. It did not come across as prejudicial or biased. It appeared to be a true assessment, an analysis of the state of the nation today. And as Michelle Obama said, it will get worse if we do not make the decision of removing this administration in November.
I understand why a lot of Americans are down on government. The way the rules have been set up and abused in Congress make it easier for special interests to stop progress than to make progress. Believe me, I know it. I understand why a white factory worker who's seen his wages cut or his job shipped overseas might feel like the government no longer looks out for him, and why a black mom might feel like it never looked out for her at all. I understand why a new immigrant might look around this country and wonder whether there's still a place for him here. Why a young person might look at politics right now, the circus of it all, the meanness and the lies and conspiracy theories, and think, what is the point? Well, here's the point. This president and those in power, those who benefit from keeping things the way they are counting on your cynicism. They know they can't win you over with their policies. So they're hoping to make it as hard as possible for you to vote and to convince you that your vote does not matter. That is how they win. That is how they get to keep making decisions that affect your life and the lives of the people you love. That's how the economy will keep getting skewed to the wealthy and well-connected. How our health systems will let more people fall through the cracks. That's how a democracy withers, until it's no democracy at all. And we cannot let that happen.
So welcome back to the program. Joining me now, along with attorney Timothy Allen Simon, who is the owner of TAS Strategies. We also have civil rights attorney Mark Harris, who is partner with the Ben Crump law firm based there in Sacramento. And Mark, good of you to join us as well. You are someone, you've also known Senator Kamala Harris personally for a number of years. I've got to ask you, as I asked Timothy earlier, what was your response as you watched her deliver her speech in accepting this historical nomination to be vice president on the Democratic ticket?
Very simple, no question about it. First, let me say thank you for having me and sharing me with your audience. Timothy Simon, thank you for allowing me to join you, Timothy and Kelly. Very simply stated, I wept. Tears came to my eyes, and I had to explore why I was crying. Van Jones got very emotional yesterday. For people like Timothy Simon and Van Jones and Barbara Lee and the late Ron Dellums, who was very close to Kamala Harris's mother, Don Hopkins, Sandre Swanson, all these folks are East Bay, Oakland folks who know Kamala, knew her when she was a kid. As she said, she had the vantage point of the civil rights movement, stroller level. I thought that was really a good line. Yeah. Here you have a woman who is the East Bay's own, born in Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California, ascend to the highest level of power and influence and responsibility in our country. I wept, and I'm proud to say that it brought tears to my eyes.
Well, Mark, I think you expressed a sentiment that a lot of people have, including here in the Wright household. My wife actually shed a couple of tears as a Black woman. She was looking at the landscape of America, seeing how she grew up. And so I remember when it was first announced last week, I kept hearing this jumping and shouting, and I'm actually here taping the show. I'm thinking, what's going on? And she was really elated with the fact that a Black woman had been named to the vice presidential ticket, and she just kept saying, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Now that's not to show my cards in terms of where I stand politically on this, because I'm still, looking at everything objectively. And as both of you know, I'm neither Republican or Democrat, but I am American. And I do recognize what this means to Black America and to Indian Americans as well as Caribbean Americans. So Kamala Harris's ascendancy to this order of being the first woman of color to accept a vice presidential nod is so refreshing and so encouraging. And to that end, Mark and Timothy, where do we need to go as a nation? Because we're seeing the browning of America. The question is, is America, the mainstream America, our white brethren and sister, are they ready for the browning of America?
I think if we look at I think the projectile is there, but I think if we look at our history as a nation, there has always been a retaliation. Some could say that the Donald Trump election was the retaliation. The Andrew Johnson abandonment of the Reconstruction was a retaliation. Some have characterized the election of Richard Nixon and the Law and Order platform as a retaliation. That's mixed arguments, I think, amongst former Black Republicans like myself. But with that being said, I think we do move forward. And Joe Biden clearly has the experience. He clearly has the track record to carry the baton. But I think it's also important to recognize that there are many out there who cannot accept the fact that it is a browning of America and will use every tactic known to man and the internet to try to disassemble this. And that's the tragedy, but the reality of our history as a nation.
We're coming back with more of the program right after this. In this election process, going back to last night, we've seen the big tent. We've seen the theme of we the people and we rise. But Mark and Timothy, I got to ask you, Mark, particularly, you pointed out where are the young people? And last night, I was thinking about you. You were in my head as I saw a lot of young people talking about climate change, talking about ending gun violence. I mean, it was profound. And then even Gabby Giffords, the former member of Congress based there in Arizona, whose husband is now going on having won a nomination to compete to becoming senator in the state of Arizona. It was remarkable to me to see young people and to see the miracle of Gabby Giffords actually addressing the Democratic National Convention when she wasn't supposed to be here after being shot in the head so many years ago.
I'm young person sensitive for a couple of reasons. Of course, I have two sons, Eric and Martin, who Timothy knows very well, 32-year-old, 29-year-old. They keep their mouth on my ear and make sure that I'm aware of what young people are thinking. But bigger than that, of course, as a college professor, a civil rights attorney, a Democratic activist, you know, Timothy Simon represents that mentorship, the right way for this thing to work. He mentored London Breed, the current mayor of the city of San Francisco. He's absolutely too humble to talk about that. But here's a Democratic woman, another superstar. The country will learn more of the preeminence of London Breed, the mayor of the city of San Francisco. I first met her, in all places, Paris, France, when I was there with Timothy Simon and Kimberly Brandon, a port commissioner in the city of San Francisco, and not coincidentally, Timothy Simon's fiance. I met London Breed through them when she was a mere 20-something, maybe early 30-something. We're not just talking the talk, we've walked the walk in terms of mentorship and in terms of listening to the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of this country and the Cori Bushes of this country and the next ones up. So I think that's what has to happen. We can't lose sight of that. I'm glad to see that in day 3, the convention reflected more of that, hopefully more to come today in day 4. Let me say one more thing, Kelly. I'm going to be on a Zoom call with Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris later today. I think that's profound that the day after she accepted the nomination, she's going to be Zoom calling with a number of us through Women of Color for Biden-Harris. I'm a proud member of Women of Color for Biden-Harris 2020. And, you know, that's the kind of effort that I really appreciate. She not only walks the walk, but she talks the talk. And I'm so proud to be a part of that effort.
Give me your forecast, if you will, on what Joe Biden has to do tonight. We've talked about the themes of We the People. Will he have to talk about how we the people will move forward, not only as a Democrat party, but also as a Republicans, bringing Republicans in and independents in as being that big tent that you alluded to yesterday, Timothy Allen Simon?
I have to give, if I can, an echoing to what the young woman said on the first day of the convention. I think the contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is the humanity of Joe Biden, the empathy, the humaneness. I think it's important. I think it matters what your heart is like, whether you're a person of faith as I am, and I espouse that and embrace that. I think Joe Biden is that. I think they'll have to continue. Yes, clearly he has the qualifications. Yes, clearly he's ready to go right now in all of the check the box parts of being president of the United States. But no one saw COVID come up. And there'll be other examples in which humanity should trump, pun intended, and transcend every other aspect of being president. I think Joe Biden has to double down on that tonight in front of the American people.
Attorney Mark Harris and Attorney Timothy Allen Simon, I thank you both. I appreciate you so much. Much love to you, and we'll continue this conversation tomorrow as we wrap up and recap the final day of the Democratic National Convention. And certainly there's a lot more work to be done after that. And we'll be looking ahead to the RNC convention, which gets underway next week. And we'll see what kind of fireworks that produces next week as well.
And it will.
For right now, we thank you both. God bless you. And Mark, enjoy that call with Senator Kamala Harris. Tell her I'm waiting.
I can't wait. I spoke to former Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris, who also admitted to weeping over this. We're very proud of Senator Harris.
As well you should be, my friend. Thank you both.
Thank you, Kelly.
And welcome back. I'd like to thank all of the guests who appeared on tonight's program. And before I leave you, my final word. Gabby Giffords, the former congresswoman who was shot in the head, an act of gun violence that many people thought would have taken her life. Yet, many years later, and after painful recovery, she is alive and well. And it was a miracle, if you will, to see her address the DNC last night. Here's what she stated that I think speaks to the larger context of what we're going through with this coronavirus. She said, "It's out of tragedy that we grow stronger. Confronted by despair, she found hope. Her recovery is daily." My friends, as we face 170,000 deaths thus far from this pandemic that we're faced with, and let us not forget the virus of racism, let me remind you what she stated, because there's some context to it. You see, out of the tragedy of dealing with coronavirus, we can grow stronger. And confronted by the despair of losing jobs and loved ones because of the coronavirus and racial division and political division, we can still find hope. Our recovery in this country is daily. Therefore, be inspired, be encouraged. No matter what, keep the faith. Hopefully we've been righted, ignited, and united to keep spreading love, freedom, and peace. Good night.
Come on, all aboard. Let me break it down for you like this. The rhythm of love is easy to find if you're listening. The color of light isn't red, black, or white, but it's crimson. We all bleed the same. If you don't feel the groove, it's alright. Just give it time, give it time. Come on, y'all. Get on board. Mankind won't survive if our hearts beat inside a hateful rhythm. You see, love isn't bought, but comes with a price of forgiveness, and we all bleed the same. Yeah. If you don't feel it now, just wait. It's coming on, a love train. Just give it time, give it time. Get on board. Everyone's invited. That means you. We're all united. And you on the love train. Get on board. All creeds and colors. Brothers. All sisters and brothers. And sisters. On the love train. Get on board the love train. Everyone's invited. We're all united on the love train. Get on board. All creeds and colors. My sisters and brothers.